in front of you. So everybody get up around here. We've got the saddle in front of us. Okay. Now the important thing to remember, this is a very low little soil here. And when you leave here, all the monuments that belong to Green's Brigade are going to have bronze plaques on them that show the breastworks. So it's how important the Union consider them. Now what happens here, we have Candy and Kane are gone with Geary. They're down around Rock Creek. Ruger is all the way down in the area of the Little Round Top. And fortunately they have we have the breastworks there, and we're going to be able to check John Marshall Jones's Virginians and the people on the evening of the 2nd and Williams's 5 Louisiana regiments. But however, Maryland Stewart will occupy that crest there, the lesser crest, beyond the saddle. So that is the toehold they're going to have. And of course, both of them are going to reinforce the area here. Slocum is going to get back here with Ruger's division. Candy and Kane are going to get back here because the only way isn't all Pap Green. Green will be reinforced to hold this ground on the evening of the 2nd by the 6th Michigan. He's going to be reinforced by the 71st Pennsylvania. He's going to be reinforced by the 82nd New York and the 14th, the Red-Legged Devil. So he's going to have some help here. So when Lee makes his plan, the Confederates are going to hold on now, as Jeff has already mentioned. Meade resolves he's going to be on the defensive when they meet in the Widow Leicester's house. But he's also going to add a caveat to him. We are going to recover the ground. We're going to drive the Confederates from their toehold on Culp's Hill. That's the area beyond the saddle. So that means that we're going to attack there. And we've already heard what General Ewell and General Lee were thinking about. And Ewell is going to have more men than he had the previous day. He's going to have extra Billy Smith, who we've already mentioned, in that engagement at 6 a.m. He's going to have Junius Daniels' people. He's going to have be reinforced, and he's going to have people from O'Neill's command, and so they're both going to put a lot of effort. Now the fighting is going to begin a little after 4:30, and it'll continue till 11 o'clock. The longest sustained fighting in any part of the battlefield. You see very few people ever out here. It's kind of a forgotten. They'll burn more units of fire up. They'll even have people from the 6th Corps, as you're going to see the Greek Cross here, from the 3rd Division of the 6th Corps are going to be up here. So there are going to be lots of Yankees, lots of rebels, and it's going to continue until about 11 o'clock. And I always like that one picture that John Trelawney does of the final charge of the Marylanders out there into Hardee's Field, and probably Jeff wants to do some talking about what's happening there.
Well,
or whatever he wants to talk about.
Initially, the Confederates in the morning of July the 3rd, Stuart's men not only held the crest, they held that stone wall. And that is the original stone wall that runs down through there. Williams's division comes back over there. You see Lockwood and Colgrove and the other brigade commander, get them off the top of my head, McDougal. They're going to be over there. Just an instant before I talk to it. 20th Connecticut. They're laying over there, okay? They come under artillery fire. One of the shells explodes short. Soldier in the 20th Connecticut is George Collins. When George passes out, he knows that his one arm has been mangled. It hurts, you know, he passes out. He's hauled back to a field hospital, unconscious the whole time. When George Collins wakes up, he finds out that both arms have been mangled and both arms are amputated. So if you look at, when they come here, well, George Collins goes back to Connecticut and fathers 5 children. Okay? But when you come here and you see their dedication of their monument, look closely at the man in the middle. It's George Collins, and there's, of course, no hands coming out of his sleeves of his uniform, but that's what happens with friendly fire. They come charging across to take the stone wall. They're repulsed. So the order is given to Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Pardee, and that's for whom the field is named. By the way, after the war, Pardee and his family will become timber barons in the state of Pennsylvania and make a fortune. But Pardee's men will charge across, and they are going to take that stone wall. They had a dog in the command, mascot. That dog starts to charge with them. The Rebs are shooting. Dog is smarter than the men. He turns around, runs, gets in a hole, and stays there for the rest of the battle as far as they can figure. Okay? They hold that. Now, the port, I was saying to some people, all this has been built up over the years when they put the road in that. The saddle was much more distinct, and it was definitely lower. Stonewall Brigade's down here. They are going to engage the 147th Pennsylvania across this area here. As Ed said, they never stop firing. This is one of the areas they're firing at. They're going to hang on until the 10 o'clock assault by Stuart's brigade across swinging. The Marylanders come out in there, and the Virginians and North Carolinians, and they're going to swing out there, and they're going to assault that. Now, we don't want to, you want me to do that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're going to get the bus and ride.
Okay, I'm trying to write quotes.
We get the really buses and ride up to the top.
On that. The order came down, of course, and they are given the, somewhere. Well, anyway, what I want to tell you is they're there, and they're going to come out and swing out. When the order comes down, they also say, the men claim that Stuart and his staff found the biggest rock they could find, and that's where they stayed during the assault. But Goldsberg, who you read, he has a book in the Maryland line. He said, he said, I walked down my ranks, and he said, by the looks in my men's faces, they knew what was coming. And so they're going to come from up here in that hill, and they're going to charge down, and they're going to swing. And Candy and Kane are up here behind us. Ruger's division, or Williams, is over there. Folks, they made it about halfway across the hill, and they never got any closer. In the 1st Maryland Potomac Home Brigade, and the 1st Maryland Eastern Shore, and the 2nd Maryland, you saw the monument. First cousins held the flags in their respective commands. Wow. The people knew each other very well. They were driven back, and this would be the last assault, and it was suicidal. They knew it, the same as we talked earlier. A little different. When the Confederates are going to retreat, they're going to leave here shortly after 11 o'clock. Of course, the Federals come down onto the ground and stuff. And here they find a dead Confederate, and lying beside it is a dead dog. And he had gone obviously forward with his master and never turned tail. As they're doing it, somehow I think Kane is in the area. And Kane is informed of the fact that they found a dead dog. Kane issues the orders that that dog will be buried with military honors because he said it's the only Christian being on the battlefield. And so that dog was buried with his master, they assuming the man he lay beside. But this is a fun. Now the rest of this, they weren't alone. The whole Confederate line is going to do this final assault at 10 o'clock. But this in here, well, like all the assaults here, they don't have a chance. But this is considered more murder. And when you're supposed to take this position up here, and you only get it about halfway across the field. I don't know when. Did you know when they named it Party Field? They must have named it as they were going through it.
They must have, yeah.
But the 147th Pennsylvania distinguished himself that morning. So
The thing to remember is Lee's attack is to be a coordinated attack. By 12 o'clock, an hour before the bombardment is, the only Confederates up here are dead, wounded, or prisoners. They'll capture Henry Kid Douglas will be captured, wounded and captured in the fighting up here. While we're waiting for the bus, you're going to see what, I want you to look at this one monument here, and they're going to show why they hold. They're going to incorporate in the monument the New York regiment, except for the 137 New York. Remember, the 137 New York is doing everything that the 20th Maine does. And very few people have heard about them. This gives you an idea of what the breastworks look like. Because it's very little soil, so you cannot dig down. And we're going to board the bus right here. And then we're going to pass several monuments where you build the breastworks and they're depicted in stone. Now look at that one. That's probably the bronze here. They have taken raw and they've piled it, they've mitered the log into position. This is, of course, the regiment immediately on the left of the 137th. Up there is a monument to the 75th New York. What's he behind? He's behind stone. Because it's very hard to move earth here. Because there's almost no soil. Then as you get up here, you're going to see again that the sculptors add in the type of stones they are. We're going to see a monument to the Maryland Home Brigade, and when you go by it, you're going to see right in front of the monument is going to be a stone just like that soldier's lying behind. So they're underscoring the importance of the breastworks, particularly on the evening of the 2nd. And we can see Meade's importance to them, because he is going to say, except we're going to fight a defensive battle on the 3rd, except we will recover and drive the Confederates from their toehold on Culp's Hill. And you can pretty well see from that stone wall how much they actually hold the lesser crest. The Confederates do. Crest of Culp's Hill. Now, one of the big what-ifs if you're a Confederate. And we heard the orders that Ewell gets. Now, they are Union troops up here. They always seem to forget. When Hancock arrives here, around 5 o'clock, he's going to find that there are no Union troops up here. And he's going to tell General Wadsworth whose division included the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division, that is the Iron Brigade, and Cutler's Brigade. He says, I want you to put your people up there. Again, for the first time at Gettysburg, Wadsworth is unenthused. And Hancock will tell him he didn't hear him right. I want men up here. So first off, they are Confederates. They're Union troops up here. So if Ewell tries to take it on the 1st, he's going to have to fight for it. And I think you can know from the Iron Brigade that they might have been battered. There might have been only 800 of them left, but they still, I think, would have fought. So they are Union troops up here. Now, when Slocum arrives, here becomes the junction point between the 12th Corps and the 1st Corps. About where that red car is, you're with the 7th Indiana, which was not here on the 1st day of July. But they'll be here on the 2nd day of July, and they'll be the extreme right regiment in the 1st Corps. And then we have coming on, and you link in with Geary's division. And again, as Jeff has pointed out, the Union are going to have artillery up here. Knapp's battery. Now Geary will be very unhappy when his son Edwin is killed. Now Edwin ain't going to get killed here. He's going to get killed at the Battle of Wauhatchie on the 29th day of October 1863 after they've gone west. But there are 3 batteries of Union, if you look at your map. There are 3 batteries of Union artillery on Powers Hill, which you can see from our first location. There are 2 batteries in the area between Powers Hill and the Evergreen Cemetery, and there are a lot of Union guns on Cemetery Hill. So when Ewell initiates his demonstration with artillery fire, when the boy artillerist puts 16 guns of his battalion in position, plus 8 guns of the Washington artillery, and opens fire. And the Union artillery will simply almost vaporize his command, mortally wounding him. And so the Union on the 3rd day is still going to have a lot of artillery registered in support of their men on Culp's Hill, and the Confederates are going to have very limited artillery support in the fighting. So here, of course, is the hero here, George Sears Green. I think if you look at it, military doesn't give it shortness longevity. I believe he lives to be 98 years old. If you look at that monument there. And of course, he's 60. He is the oldest Union general at the Battle of here, and played an important role on Culp's Hill, as you can see. An interesting thing is on the 3rd, we're going to have the 66th Ohio Regiment. It is going to be, this color company is going to be there. Now, what can they do? They're going to be going down the slope of the hill with their right flank marker right there. The color marker where you can see the monument, and down slope from there is their left flank marker. And what are they doing? They're firing into the flanks of the Confederates as they charge up that slope, which will give the Confederates other problems. So you can and to again playing in Hawaii. The Confederates by 11 a.m. are the only Confederates on Culp Hill or on this side of Rock Creek in this area here are dead, wounded, and prisoners. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to give you some quotes here at the end. It's very fascinating with what they did. By the way, when Powell came up here with his 60s, Eugene Powell with his 66 Ohio, I just want to quote you, he came up here and he ran into Gary and he didn't know who he was. I mean, not Gary Green, it was dark. And he said, well, my orders are to go over those works. And here's what Green said to him, my God, young man, the enemy are right out there. I'm expecting an attack any moment. If you go out there with your regiment, you will be simply swallowed up. Well, Powell says, that was what my orders were, but I expected to be annihilated. Very good. Yeah, but here.
All right.
Wait. I'll get it here. I actually have it. It's just some good ones. Couple things. The Federals said about the fighting here, and I quote, none but demons can delight in war. Soldier in the 107th New York wrote on July 5th, I never saw a more hard sight in my life. Rebels lying in pals all over the field dead. 150th New York. I was never on a battlefield before, and the Lord preserve me from such a sight again. J. Howard Wirt, remember the young J. Howard Wirt would go around the battlefield and collect things as a young boy? He would claim later that he never, on all the whole battlefield, he thought that this was the place that had the most concentrated of dead soldiers that he saw. Confederate losses were roughly 25% on July the 3rd. Union losses were 10%. One last thing. Corporal Horatio Dana Chapman of 20th Connecticut, he would walk over the slope out there, lower Culp's Hill, and he came across a Louisiana soldier sitting against a tree, and he was dead. But he saw a letter in his coat pocket, and he pulled the letter out. And this is what Chapman recorded in his diary, meaning about, and the letter was from this dead Louisiana soldier's wife. And here's what he wrote in his diary. She says our little boys gets into my lap and says, now, Mama, I will give you a kiss for Papa. But oh, how I wish you could come home and kiss me for yourself. And then this is what Chapman adds. But such is war, and we are getting used to it.
One of the best quotes I've heard anybody read. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let us, when we leave,
So, Bill, did you get my email with the picture? Oh, you did. Good. Nice picture.
this is Claire Stevens' Knoll.
Except it was his ugly guy.
What can we do?
Very obvious why they call it Stevens' Knoll. And we're going to stop
Thank God for your
probably right in front of that car. Maybe probably in front of the car, or I'll leave a good driver decide what is best to position. So we got to put 2 buses are going to be stopped here for about 5 minutes while we give the overview.
This be close enough.
Yes.
You recognize a good view, 5 minutes.
No, I don't.
There's the Stevens Battery Monument
All right.
on the hill.
Here you can see the Union objective. The Union objective is Cemetery, known as East Cemetery Hill. The trademark of the Evergreen Cemetery is the gatehouse. As we look to our our right, we can see the sweeping vista going down these ravines. To our right, the wooded area is in the distance. Now the Confederates are going to be starting from that deep green field. You can see the Park Road. See the Park Road cutting across there. That's where the Confederates begin their advance from, where they drive in the Union skirmish line, which is going to fall back to this area here. Now, not only does the Union have Stevens's 6 guns, as we look to our front, you can see Reynolds' 6 guns. See that battery there on the slope of the hill, 6 guns. Now look up toward the monument of General Hancock, who is at right angles to us. There you see the 6 guns of Robert Louis Ricketts' battery. On Ricketts' left, which is off the skyline, is Michael Weidrich's battery. All good German boys, all commands given in German. Then you got 4 guns that are just to the west, east of the gatehouse. That's Stewart's 4 guns, plus a number of guns in the cemetery. So these Confederates of Hayes and Avery are going against about 30 Union guns. The Union main line of resistance will be long and behind that stone wall. You can see the Segway people are going down Brickyard Lane. Brickyard Lane existed then, and Brickyard Lane leads to the north, and gives you access to the Harrisburg Road. You're going to cross that road, and you're going to have Yankees fleeing in front of you, abandoning that position. The only Yankee force that stands is going to be the 33rd Massachusetts, whose marker is going to be on our right when we turn left. The rest of the Yankees are going to be a panic-stricken mob heading toward heading toward Evergreen Cemetery as fast as their legs would go. Now, the Confederates are going to always be thinking, if you're in Avery's brigade and Hayes' brigade, we had the key to the battlefield. It's about 7, it's just getting dark, and 8, they've seized the best artillery position in the area. The thing that dictated Reynolds saying this is a place to fight a battle. And they think they've got it in their hands. But as we're going to find out, Jubilee, who is the keeper of the lost cause, ain't going to go over and kick Gordon in the ass and say, let's think about being a real soldier when you start writing after the war and advance up to support our people, because he isn't going to do it. Nor will Rhodes's people will, and that SOB Hancock, speaking one Confederate view, is going to be doing the same thing here that he did an hour and a half before, or at our last stop yesterday. All right? We'll now go to the restroom. People are not moving. All right. Meade holds a meeting here for the evening of the 2nd. They're going to assemble here, and it's going to begin around 9 o'clock. Now, Meade knows something that he's not going to share. He knows from George Wright, from George Sharp, he knows that he knows within 2,500 men Lee's strength. He knows more about Lee's strength than Lee does himself. So they're going to assemble. at the meeting are going to be General George Gordon Meade. He's already telegraphed Washington and says it's been a terrible battle during the day. But he believes the results have been generally favorable to the Union. So he arrives. There will be Chief of Staff Daniel Butterfield. Marshall wants to be General Butterfield and will have one use here. Giving the 3 questions they're going to vote on as Butterfield writes them out. So there's going to be General Warren, Chief Engineer of the Army, and they're going to be the 2 wing commanders, pretending they are, particularly Slocum. There's going to be Slocum and Hancock. There's going to be the commander of the 1st Corps, General Newton. The commander of the 2nd Corps, General David Birney. There's going to be the commander, there's going to be General Gibbon, commander of the 2nd Corps. There's going to be Birney, commander of the 3rd Corps. There's going to be George Sykes, commander of the 5th Corps. There's going to be General Sedgwick, commander of the 6th Corps. There's going to be General Howard, commander of the 11th Corps. And there is going to be General Williams, commander of the 12th Corps. That's who's going to be attending. They're going to assemble, and the only smart person there is General Warren. He's going to be in the far corner, the opposite side of the house from we're in. He's going to be on that side of the before. He's going to sit in the corner and go to sleep. Now, they don't really get down to business. There's a lot of give and take, chit-chat, without focusing on an issue. In spite of what Meade has already informed Washington, General Butterfield will take charge. And he's going to say, we've got to make some decisions. I remember Meade had already said, terrible battle, heavy losses, but he thinks it generally favored us. So General Butterfield, right now, that he's going to sit there. There's only one chair there and one table there, and that's where Butterfield is going to be sitting. General Butterfield, let's hear you. You get into the act and show some authority when you talk.
Yes. Well, it was Butterfield that proposed that they take a poll of the generals. Meade had not wanted to do that, but he agreed. By the way, you notice when Ed mentioned the Corps commanders, there was one Corps commander not here. And that was Alfred Pleasanton, commander of the Cavalry Corps. Although he gave some reasons for his not being here, it's never been really explained. Anyway, Butterfield's first question to the generals, and they were answered in reverse order of seniority. The lowest ranking general answering first, going up the ladder to the most senior officer present. Butterfield, Meade did not vote, and of course Warren didn't vote since he was sleeping. The reason he was sleeping, he'd been slightly wounded in the neck and it was bothering him. Anyway, the first question read, under existing circumstances, is it advisable for this army to remain in its present position or to retire to another nearer its base of supplies? Everyone recommended that the army stay, although 3 of the generals, all of them engineers, wanted to change the lines and correct the lines which they thought were deficient. And the reason was to prevent the threat from the left, which they were concerned about, and of course that was Longstreet's idea in miniature. In response to the second question of whether or not the army should attack, all the generals thought it wise to remain on the defensive. Finally, in answer to the last question of how long they should wait for an enemy attack, a big majority agreed that Meade should not wait long, perhaps a day at the most, before deciding on any other measures. When the voting was over, Gibbons supposedly remembered Meade saying,
Now, let
quote,
me say when Gibbon writes it,
right.
he's not going to write it till Meade is dead.
But supposedly he claims that Meade said quietly but decidedly, such then is the decision. I personally would doubt that because Meade never wanted this to be a council of war, only a meeting so he could find out the condition of the army.
But he's let it turn into a council of war.
Because of Butterfield stabbing him in the back, you will remember that Butterfield was a great friend of Hooker. If you read the testimony before the Committee on the Conduct of the War, Butterfield, Birney, Hooker, and Pleasanton all castigate Meade and come up with the idea that Meade desired to retreat on the night of the 2nd, which is not true.
All right, so the meeting is going to take. The only one there is considerable debate on, and that is on issue 1. The principal one arguing of the three, issue 1 is the lowest ranking one, Newton. An engineer will argue even stronger than the other two people that we should correct our position. On the second issue, there's considerable discussion, but the vote is unanimous that we let the enemy attack us. Meade will add a codicil to that he agrees with them, but he wants the Confederates driven from their toehold on Culp's Hill. The next one is come up, and the really thing is what is basically, if nothing happens in 24 hours, we meet again. Now, after they've all left, there's only 2 witnesses to this conversation. It's going to be Gibbon and General Meade. And Meade is going to be in the great beyond when Gibbon writes about it. And it's going to be when they come to the door there, Gibbon is going to remember Meade said to them, Lee has tried my left, he's tried my right, and he's going to try my center today. Whether he said that, nobody knows. It's a recollection of General Gibbon considerably after the event takes place. Now they break up and they go back. And as we know, by 11 o'clock, the Federals have driven the Confederates from their toehold. Now Gibbon's headquarters are here. He has a good chef named Chef Culp. He's a good cook, and everybody envies him. And he has prepared a meal, and participating in the meal will be General Meade, General Gibbon, and Culp's favorite major player, General Hunt, who's a good man, and there's going to be General President. After they have eaten, and they're sitting around smoking cigars, they're all cigar smokers, and it wasn't a great thing. People did not take baths and showers all the time. It was believed in health literature that it weakened you, so they would not smell good. So Nicole would not bother her at all of those guys smoking the cigars. And as they're smoking their cigars, about 10 minutes after 1, the Confederates opened fire. And as they're doing so, one of the staff officers is being served by one of the orderlies. And for about 10 or 15 minutes, this is the most dangerous place in the Army because the Confederates are shooting high. They're targeting the area in and about the aiming point, where we can see that tree. The overshots are going to light into here, and it's going to do certain things. They're important, and then I'm going to shut up. One is it's going to cut the staff officer in two. It's going to kill a large number of the horses. And it's going to, Meade is going to decide, I'm moving my headquarters. He is moving it south of us to, I got a metal block here, what hill? Marshall. Powers Hill. So he will not be on the field of battle. He will not see the charge. He will only arrive here after the Confederates have been repulsed. The reserve artillery will move with the reserve artillery will move down the road here to put a greater distance from them, and and this is the important thing, and it's going to be used to beat Meade over the head. Now, even yet, better yet, as I said, Lincoln will hear the first reports. He's going to hear the battle is on the evening of the 5th from Daniel Edgar Sickles, and he's going to hear the Sickles story, and he's going to swallow it hook, line, and sinker. Any questions?
Can I add one thing? After the war, it became a great controversy, spearheaded by Sickles, that Meade wanted to retreat on the night of the 2nd, which all of his staff officers denied. His son finally wrote an article, which is available if you want to read it, about the fact that his father did not want to retreat. And in preparing for that article, he went through his father's papers. George Meade was dead. He went through his father's papers and found the minutes that Butterfield kept of this meeting. So he had the questions and the responses of the generals, and he was able to establish with the aid of that it had not been Meade's desire to retreat, but it had been decided at the meeting
It is
what
not
it did.
really going to do him a particle of good, because the president hears the first story is for Daniel Edgar Sickles, and Meade's subsequent actions will reinforce in Lincoln's mind that Meade wanted to let them escape or get out of here, but we haven't got time to go on that. So let's go out and reboard the bus.
Everybody, it'd be best if you